The call came at 2:30 on a Tuesday. I was reviewing quarterly reports when her name flashed on my screen. Hey, what's? My aunt died. I paused. Put down my pen. I'm sorry. Which aunt? Aunt Margaret. The one in Boston. Her voice was flat. Businesslike. She left me $1 million. That's incredible. Are you okay? Silence. Then, pack your things. Get out of the apartment. I stopped breathing. What? You heard me. Tonight. I want you gone. We can talk about 15 years, Nathan. 15 years of your failed businesses. Your debt. Your mediocre jobs. I carried us. I paid everything. And now I don't have to anymore. The line went dead. I sat there. Stared at my phone. Replayed the words. Then I stood. Told my supervisor I had a family emergency. Drove home. The apartment door was unlocked. She was sitting at the kitchen table. Divorce papers spread out in front of her. 2 copies. A pen placed deliberately on my side. She looked up. Arms crossed. Waiting for the fight. I walked to the table. Picked up the pen. Sat down. Read the first page. Then the second. Skimmed the rest. Standard dissolution. Asset split. No alimony requested. I signed every page. She watched. Her expression shifted from confidence to confusion. Wait. She leaned forward. You're not going to argue? I capped the pen. Slid the papers toward her. Smiled. Why are you smiling? I stood. Grabbed my keys. Call your lawyer tomorrow. You'll understand. Then I left. She didn't follow. I drove to a hotel. Checked in. Ordered room service. Slept better than I had in months. The next morning I called my attorney. His name was Richard Cole. We'd known each other since college. He handled business contracts, estate planning, intellectual property. She served you? He asked. I signed already. Without reviewing with me first? I reviewed it. Standard agreement. She gets the apartment, her car, her accounts. I get my car, my business assets, my retirement account. And the debt. I smiled. That's why I'm calling. We need to talk about what she doesn't know. I'm listening. 15 years ago we got married. Young. Broke. I had student loans, $80,000. Car loan. Credit card debt. She had nothing. Clean slate. Right. 3 years ago when I started the consulting firm, you helped me restructure everything. We moved all my personal debt into the business. Made it a liability of the LLC, not personal debt. Correct. It protected your personal credit and made the interest tax deductible. And the business grew. Last year we cleared $400,000 in revenue. This year we're projected at $600,000. Richard went quiet. Then, she thinks you're still broke. She thinks I'm still working 3 jobs because I'm desperate. She doesn't know I own those jobs. 2 of them are subsidiaries of my LLC. And the retirement account she's letting you keep? Currently holds $230,000. I stopped mentioning it 5 years ago. She stopped asking. Richard laughed. She has no idea. None. What about the apartment? Lease is in her name. Has been for 7 years. I moved my name off when we restructured. She insisted, wanted the credit building in her name. So she gets an apartment she already solely owns. Exactly. Nathan, this is beautiful. There's more. The inheritance, $1 million from her aunt. That's separate property. Received after marriage, but as a direct inheritance, it's not marital property in our state. Meaning? Meaning she gets to keep all of it. And I don't want a dime. It makes me look generous in court if this ever gets contested. Richard was silent for a long moment. When does she find out? Today. Her lawyer will run financial discovery. Pull tax returns. See the LLC filings. This is going to destroy her. No, I said. It's going to educate her. I hung up. Waited. The call came at 11 a.m. Her lawyer. Not her. Mr. Hayes, this is Jennifer Moretti. I represent your wife in the dissolution proceedings. Hello. We need to schedule a meeting. There are some discrepancies in the financial disclosures. I disclosed everything accurately. Your tax returns show significant business income. Income your wife wasn't aware of. I file jointly. She signs the returns every year. Silence. She signs them without reading them? Jennifer's tone shifted. Less confident. You'd have to ask her. Mr. Hayes, this changes the asset division significantly. We'll need to refile. The papers are signed. I'm not contesting anything. She gets what we agreed on. But you're entitled to. I'm entitled to what I built. Which is exactly what I'm keeping. She's entitled to what she contributed. Which is the apartment lease in her name and her inheritance. This isn't fair? She called me mediocre. Told me I was dead weight. Said she carried us for 15 years. I'm just giving her what she asked for, freedom from me. Jennifer exhaled. She wants to talk to you. No. Mr. Hayes. Tell her to call her lawyer tomorrow. She'll understand. I hung up. Blocked her number. Then I went to lunch. At 2 p.m. Richard texted, her attorney just requested emergency mediation. They want to renegotiate. I replied, decline. Papers are signed. You're sure? Completely. I opened my laptop. Reviewed the business financials. The consulting firm was strong. The 2 subsidiary companies were profitable. The retirement account was protected. Everything I'd built while she complained about my work hours. While she told her friends I was struggling. While she waited for an inheritance to finally leave me. I'd been restructuring our entire financial life. Quietly. Legally. With Richard's help. She'd been signing tax returns without reading them. Counting on me staying broke. I ordered coffee. Opened my calendar. Tomorrow I had 3 client meetings. Next week I was expanding into a second market. She had $1 million and an apartment lease. I had everything else. Not yet done though. I hired a forensic accountant on Wednesday. Not to hide anything, to document everything. I need a complete audit of marital finances for the past 15 years, I told him. Every joint account. Every transaction. Every payment I made. His name was Gerald. Retired IRS agent. Meticulous. What are you looking for? Proof of contribution. She claims she carried us financially. I want numbers. He delivered in 5 days. The report was 48 pages. 15 years of marriage. I'd contributed 68% of all household expenses. Paid the rent 72 times. Covered groceries, utilities, insurance, car payments. She'd contributed 32%. Mostly in the last 3 years when her salary increased. But here's what mattered. In year 7 when I started the first subsidiary, I'd stopped depositing into our joint account. Started using business accounts instead. Paid household expenses directly from the LLC. She never noticed. She saw my paycheck from the side jobs, and assumed I was barely scraping by. Meanwhile, the business was covering everything. And growing. Gerald highlighted another section. Your wife made several large purchases in the last 6 months. Jewelry. Designer bags. A weekend trip to Miami. All from the joint account. How much total? $38,000. I leaned back. She was preparing to leave. Looks like it. Spending down assets before filing. I had Richard file a motion to recoup those funds. Marital waste. Dissipation of assets in anticipation of divorce. Her lawyer tried to argue it was normal spending. The judge disagreed. Ordered her to reimburse half, $19,000, back into the marital estate. Which meant back to me since I was the only one with claim to joint assets beyond the apartment. She didn't have $19,000 liquid. The inheritance was in probate. Wouldn't clear for another 60 days. She'd have to borrow it. Richard called with the update. She's furious. Tried to claim you're being vindictive. I'm being accurate. Her attorney asked again about settlement negotiations. What are they offering? She keeps the inheritance. You keep the business. She wants $40,000 from your retirement account to cover her legal fees and the reimbursement. Counteroffer, she keeps the inheritance and the apartment. I keep everything else. No money changes hands. She'll never agree. Then we go to court. I have 15 years of financial records showing I built everything while she spent freely and complained publicly. Richard paused. You're really going to burn this down? She lit the match. He filed the counter. Her response came back in 2 days. Rejected. Fine. We scheduled the court date. I spent the next 3 weeks preparing. Organized every document. Every tax return. Every bank statement. Every business filing. Richard compiled it into a trial binder. 3 inches thick. This is excessive, he said. The judge won't read all of this. I'm not taking chances. I also did something else. I contacted every mutual friend we had. 12 people. Sent a simple message. Going through a divorce. Not asking you to pick sides. Just want you to know I'm okay. If she said anything about me, feel free to ask for my side. 8 responded immediately. Supportive. Curious. For had already heard her version, that I was financially irresponsible, that she'd supported me for years, that I'd contributed nothing. I sent them each a summary. Not the full report, just highlights. My percentage of contributions, the business income, the retirement account. I never corrected her when she talked about money, I wrote. I let her believe what she wanted. That was my mistake. 3 apologized. Said they'd had no idea. 1, her best friend Claudia, didn't respond. 2 days later Claudia called me. She's telling people you hid money from her. I filed joint tax returns. She signed them. She says you manipulated her. I built a business while working 3 jobs. She thought the jobs were desperation. They were diversification. Silence. Nathan, she's planning to fight for half the business. On what grounds? She supported you emotionally while you built it. Marital contribution. I smiled. Let her try. I hung up. Called Richard. They're going to claim sweat equity. Emotional support. Marital partnership. Do you have documentation of her involvement in the business? None. She never attended a meeting. Never reviewed a contract. Never met a client. I have emails where she explicitly told me to handle your business stuff because she wasn't interested. Forward those to me. I did. Richard added them to the binder. On the day of the hearing I arrived early. Suit pressed. Documents organized. Come. She arrived 15 minutes late. Jennifer beside her. Looking stressed. We didn't make eye contact. The judge called us forward. Let's make this simple, she said. Mrs. Hayes, you're requesting what specifically? Jennifer stood. Your Honor, my client requests 50% of the marital business assets, citing her support during the judge held up a hand. Was Mrs. Hayes involved in the business operations? Not directly, but did she contribute capital, labor, expertise? She provided emotional support and maintained the household. So did Mr. Hayes, according to these financial records. The judge had read the binder. Jennifer faltered. The judge continued. Mr. Hayes contributed 68% of household expenses. Started and grew a business. Maintained separate business assets properly documented and filed. Mrs. Hayes signed joint tax returns acknowledging this income. I see no grounds for business asset division. She looked at me. Mr. Hayes, you're requesting? I keep the business, retirement account, and personal assets. She keeps the apartment, her inheritance, and her vehicle. No alimony. No further claims. Mrs. Hayes. My wife stared at me. Then at the judge. This isn't fair. The judge raised an eyebrow. You initiated this dissolution. You requested he leave. You presented the papers. He signed. What exactly is unfair? Silence. Motion granted. Divorce finalized as filed. Next case. The gavel dropped. She tried to talk to me in the hallway. I kept walking. Nathan, wait. I didn't stop. Jennifer caught up to me. My client would like to discuss. There's nothing to discuss. It's finalized. She didn't understand the financial situation. I turned. Looked at Jennifer directly. She signed 15 years of tax returns. She had access to every account. She chose not to pay attention. That's not. Tell your client she got exactly what she asked for. Freedom from me. I left. That evening I moved my things out of the hotel. Signed a lease on a downtown loft. 2 bedrooms. Floor-to-ceiling windows. A view I'd wanted for years but never mentioned. I could afford it now. Could have afforded it for the past 3 years. But I'd stayed in that cramped apartment. Let her think we were struggling. Because I was busy building. The business continued growing. I hired 2 new consultants. Expanded the client base. Landed a contract with a Fortune 500 company. Revenue projections for next year, $800,000. 3 months after the divorce, I ran into Claudia at a coffee shop. She looked uncomfortable. Nathan. Hi. Claudia. How are you? Good. Busy. You. She hesitated. She's struggling. I sipped my coffee. Said nothing. The inheritance is tied up in probate. More complicated than she thought. And she can't find work. Firms keep passing on her applications. That's unfortunate. She's asking friends for money. To cover rent. I nodded. Still said nothing. She thought you'd fall apart without her. I met her eyes. I know. Claudia looked down. I'm sorry. We all believed her version. Most people do. It's easier than asking questions. I finished my coffee. Stood to leave. Nathan. I turned. She wants to talk. She won't say it, but I think she regrets this. I considered that, then shook my head. Some decisions don't get do-overs. I walked out, went back to the office, had 3 meetings, closed 2 new contracts. By the time I got home, I'd forgotten the conversation entirely. She'd wanted freedom. I'd given it to her. Now she had $1 million in probate, an apartment she couldn't afford, and the knowledge that she'd walked away from everything real. I had momentum. Almost time. 6 months post-divorce, her lawyer contacted Richard again. She's requesting a modification. Claims the divorce was signed under duress and financial misrepresentation. Richard laughed. On what grounds? She didn't understand the full scope of Mr. Hayes's assets. She signed tax returns. She had access to all accounts. We have documentation. She's claiming he intentionally obscured his income. Richard forwarded me the motion. I read it twice. She wanted the divorce reopened. Wanted half the business. Wanted spousal support retroactively applied. This is desperation, Richard said. She won't win. File a response. Include every signed tax return. Every joint account statement. Every email where she declined involvement in business matters. Already drafted. The hearing was scheduled for 3 weeks out. I prepared differently this time. I hired a business valuator. Had the LLC formally appraised. Current value, $1.2 million. I also pulled records on her spending during the marriage. The vacations she'd taken alone. The girls' trips. The designer purchases. All funded by joint accounts, which meant funded by me since I'd contributed 68%. Total, $93,000 over 15 years. I had Richard file a counter motion. If she wanted to reopen financials, we'd reopen everything, including a claim for reimbursement of marital waste. Her lawyer withdrew the modification request 2 days before the hearing. But something else happened. I received a call from an unknown number. Answered out of curiosity. Nathan Hayes? Yes. This is Margaret Whitfield's estate attorney. I'm handling the probate for her will. I froze. Margaret. Her aunt. I'm listening. There's been a complication. Mrs. Hayes, your ex-wife, was listed as a beneficiary. However, the will contained a clause. If the beneficiary divorced within 1 year of Margaret's death, the inheritance would be redirected. My heart rate increased. Redirected where? To a charitable trust. Margaret was very specific. She believed marriage was sacred. Any beneficiary who divorced shortly after her passing was assumed to be motivated by the inheritance rather than love. I processed that. When did Margaret die? March 14th. We divorced June 22nd. 3 months. Correct. Which triggers the clause. So she gets nothing? Nothing from the estate. The $1 million will go to the trust Margaret established. I sat down. Stared at the wall. Does she know? She was notified this morning. I thanked him. Hung up. Sat in silence for 10 minutes. Then I called Richard. You're not going to believe this. I told him everything. He was quiet for a long moment. Then, she divorced you to access money that no longer exists. Correct. And now she has nothing except an apartment she can't afford and no income. Correct. Nathan, this is inevitable, I finished. That evening Claudia called again. She's devastated. The inheritance is gone. She can't pay her legal fees. She's being evicted. I'm sorry to hear that. Can you help her? Just temporarily? No. Nathan, please. She made a mistake. She made a choice. Choices have consequences. I hung up. Blocked the number. Some people bet everything on the wrong hand. She tried to contact me directly 3 months later. Showed up at my office building. Security called. There's a woman here asking for you. Says she's your ex-wife. Tell her I'm unavailable. She's insisting. Tell her to leave or I'll file a restraining order. She left. Her life unraveled quickly after that. Evicted from the apartment. Moved in with Claudia temporarily. Then burned that bridge too. Last I heard she was working retail. Living in a shared house on the east side. The business hit $1 million in revenue 18 months post-divorce. I sold a minority stake to a private equity firm. Cleared $300,000 personally. Bought a house. Nothing excessive. Just something mine. Started dating someone new. A financial analyst who asked questions about my business and actually listened to the answers. One afternoon, I saw my ex-wife's number appear on my blocked call list. She tried 14 times in one day. I deleted the notifications. Richard called that evening. Her lawyer reached out. She's willing to sign a permanent waiver of any future claims in exchange for $15,000. Tell them no. Nathan, it would close the door permanently. The door is already closed. I don't pay people to accept reality. He chuckled. Understood. I never heard from her again. The business continued growing. I promoted 2 employees. Opened a second office. She'd wanted $1 million and freedom from a man she thought was failing. She got freedom. The money vanished. And the man she left built everything she'd assumed was impossible. Some lessons cost everything. I learned to build in silence. She learned that assumptions are expensive.